we're back.
Episode 60. It's us again, the horror guys. I'm Kevin.
And I'm Brian. And we've got more movies.
We watched some horror movies this week, and we're going to tell you about them. We're going to spoil them, so you are warned.
Spoiler-heavy content ahead.
Totally worth it, though.
All except for the last movie. It's an indie movie. It's a new movie. And
we won't spoil that.
You haven't seen it probably, so we won't spoil much.
Tales of Frankenstein?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got 4 movies this week.
Hmm.
Were they good, mostly?
No. I thought they were mostly Drek.
I think we have a disagreement already. I thought they were all kind of good this time. Usually I'm the harsh one.
They didn't work for me.
All right.
No. They're classic and popular and...
Classics of horror.
Unpopular opinion here. Yeah.
We got The Conjuring, the first one from 2013. The Conjuring 2, which is the second one, from 2016. The Curse of La Llorona from 2019, which is the newest one.
And it's hard to say. La Llorona.
La Llorona.
Yeah, we only recently figured out.
It's
it's a double L. Yeah,
it's like going to Taco Bell and ordering extra tortillas. With your tortillas with your jalapenos.
Going to a Mexican restaurant and ordering Palo chicken, Palo Loco. I didn't know it was pollo.
With some Palo Loco.
I do that now, but anyway.
That's okay.
La Llorona.
I called them tortilla chips till I was like 15, so there you go.
Yeah.
This is what happens with living in Ohio and Michigan. You don't get the Spanish accents quite right.
Yeah, we're not in California or New Mexico or there's not as much fusion here in Ohio and Michigan.
It's all Tex-Mex. Okay, so we got The Curse of La Llorona, or as they say down south, La Llorona, from 2019, and Tales of Frankenstein from 2018, and a really weird short film. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Here we go. Okay.
No, I didn't mean
I'm not supposed to sing along with the theme song.
No, I didn't mean the Tales from Frankenstein was Drek, just to clarify.
Okay. First, we're going to start with The Conjuring. Was The Conjuring Drek?
Yeah. Didn't do anything for me. Didn't work for me.
I liked it.
It was just so meh.
It started out with based on a true story, and it was downhill from there for you, wasn't it?
That loses it for me. That alone is yeah.
2 things that pushes his buttons.
Take real events, which I don't believe are real, and then blow them up and make them even stupider and yeah, like there's some scary things. Let's say some holy words. Screaming and people being thrown around, and we'll show them a cross. That works, except when it doesn't. And I don't know. Just
2 things it takes to push his buttons. Based on a true story.
That's one of the things.
And 20 and 30-year-olds pretending to be teenagers. This movie only had one of those 2 things, but it was enough for him.
It was a start. Yeah.
Directed by James Wan, written by Chad Hayes, Carrie W. Hayes. Stars Patrick Wilson, Vera Farmiga, and Ron Livingston. Hour and 52 minutes. There's a link in the show notes if you have not already seen this one.
Now, one thing I thought was really cool, it was a retro early 70s. They did that super well, so the retro was fun. The nostalgia was fun.
It's like continuing on with Mad Men right up into the 70s, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, we start out with Lorraine and Ed Warren interviewing a couple about a weird doll. This is the start of the Annabelle case in 1968.
Which is based on a true story.
Well, it kind of is. They talk about the little girl who moved into the doll, and then weirdness began. See, at this point, it was a little girl who moved into the doll. They hadn't retconned the story.
Mm-hmm.
They threw the doll in the dumpster, but she came back all on her own. The Warrens explain that there's no ghost in Annabelle. It must be something demonic.
It's just a conduit for demonic forces.
And it wants to possess them, not the doll.
Mm-hmm.
The lights come on, and we see that Ed and Lorraine are really just giving a seminar on the supernatural.
Surprise!
They're demonologists, or spiritualists, or just crazy people.
Yeah. That's what they get called sometimes.
Yes, all those things.
Yeah, but they handle it.
We get the credits and then fast forward all the way up to 1971.
Mm-hmm.
A married couple, Carolyn and Roger, along with their 5 girls and the family dog, move to a new home. Right from the start, the dog won't go in the house. They soon find a boarded-up basement that they didn't even know existed, and the father checks it out.
Big place, too. Big farmhouse.
Yeah.
Kind of run down, but cool place. It's big.
Did they ever say what they did for a living?
No.
5 kids buying a huge old farm, and neither one of them ever seemed to do anything.
They never went anywhere for jobs or mentioned work, really.
This is one of those things that, pushes my buttons.
Don't think about too much.
Where do these people afford this stuff? The next morning, of course, they find the dog dead. Didn't see that coming. Something killed it in the night. Meanwhile, Ed Warren introduces a reporter to the Warren's Cursed Object Museum, and since we're taking these movies out of order, we've already seen this in most of the other Conjuring movies.
Mm-hmm.
He explains that sometimes it's better to keep the genie in the bottle rather than leave these objects out in the world.
Well, and he explains too, the reporter asked why not just burn them all in a big bonfire, and he said no, that would, set
that
things
would release
free,
things.
and just better to keep them all bottled up and locked up.
And his logic's pretty good.
Yeah.
Better to keep them in one safe place than...
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people have thought in the past.
Yeah.
Back at the farmhouse, the weirdness continues with strange sounds, sleepwalking children, and strange smells in the night.
The girls are accusing each other of farting a lot.
Mm-hmm. Gassy family. The wife wakes up every morning with new bruises, but doesn't know what's causing them. One night, she follows the noises, falls down the steps into the basement, and gets locked in. Meanwhile, the girls upstairs are being attacked by a ghost. Ed explains in another seminar that there are 3 steps of demonic possession: infestation, oppression, and possession.
He even has them written out on a...
And I wrote them down for my notes because I thought it was going to be important, and this never gets referenced again in the entire series as far as I can think.
No, not really. Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's in an outline somewhere, but it doesn't mean anything. Carolyn meets up with them afterwards and invites them to come see their house. They start their investigation, but it takes very little time before they suggest a full exorcism for the entire family. It's not the house. Something is attached to them. Lorraine does some research and finds that various people have died or committed suicide there over the past 150 years. They go in and set up with recorders, cameras, holy water, and crosses to stir things up. The rest of the family goes to a movie, leaving Carolyn home with Ed and Lorraine. While they're gone, a demon pukes in Carolyn's mouth.
Yes, you heard that
That's
right.
pretty much all.
Mm-hmm.
That night, things start getting crazy again. One of the daughters disappears, and they use a UV light to follow her footprints. It's like CSI for ghosts. They find her...
High-tech. Very 1970s high-tech. Yeah.
I don't know. I think my brother had a black light in his bedroom from like 1970 on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how high-tech that was
high-tech.
then.
Yeah.
Never used it for finding ghosts, though. Well, they find her in a secret door inside the wall. That's where Laurie hides when he's afraid, explains April, the youngest child. Lorraine checks out the secret area and falls through the floor to the basement, where she sees bad things. Ed thinks that they have enough proof to be able to convince a priest to come do an exorcism, so they leave to go get one. Lorraine has a vision of her own daughter's dead body, but the daughter is currently fine. Except that night, Judy, the Warrens' daughter, is terrorized by the Annabelle the doll, who has escaped from her display case. Ed and Lorraine get there just in time, but they find Annabelle locked safely in the case. It wasn't really Annabelle.
It wasn't Annabelle at all.
At the same time...
Because this isn't Annabelle's movie.
Not yet. I wonder if they had any intention of making an Annabelle movie at this point.
I bet they had it in the back of their mind.
Yeah, they could do. We could make a sequel of this and this and this
and this and yeah.
And like I said, when they showed that museum, they could really go anywhere in that with that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, Carolyn takes April, her oldest daughter, back to the house to sacrifice her. Carolyn is clearly possessed, and the demon inside exposes itself, removing any doubt. They tie up Carolyn but can't find April. Ed says there's no more time for a priest and that he'll do the exorcism himself. He's never done one.
But he's willing to take the chance.
He's not authorized to do one, but he's seen it done. He does the exorcism, and it's pretty brutal. Carolyn escapes and goes after April in the tunnels under the house. They do finally rescue April and drive the demon out of Carolyn. Afterwards, the Vatican approves the exorcism procedure, and then they mention that they want the Warrens to go check out this house they know of in Amityville. The end. And you didn't like all that.
No.
Just plain old haunting for you, huh?
Yeah.
Well,
haunting stuff. Yeah.
Don't believe in ghosts, don't find ghosts scary.
Not really.
Okay.
When they're trying to sell them as real. I mean, they're trying to sell this as a real thing.
Would you have liked it if the first few words hadn't been based on a true story?
I would have enjoyed it a lot more. I've seen horror, ghost things that I like that are just pure fantasy and,
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this is a fairly long film, but it's well paced and doesn't really drag at any point. It mostly relies on atmosphere and jump scares, but they're very effective jump scares. You think it did drag?
I thought it dragged. I didn't think the jump scares were that effective. I thought I saw them coming a mile away, and
Oh, you could see them coming a mile away, but they worked anyway.
I didn't jump.
Maybe that's the best kind. You can see them coming.
Okay.
Oh, that was a well done jump scare. I didn't jump a bit.
They built a 50-foot tree. That was cool. There was this creepy tree outside, and
the tree in the movie poster was entirely built.
Yeah, they built that. That was a neat effect, neat set piece. Yeah.
The film started a franchise of more than half a dozen movies so far, so I was expecting it to be good, and it was. It used all the usual horror tropes, but managed to avoid being cliche for the most part, and I would definitely recommend this one.
I give it a solid 4.
I need to step up my game. I'm supposed to be the bad cop. Okay, I would give this one. I would give this one an 8. I liked it. It was good, I thought.
Yeah.
Nothing terribly original, but everything it did well. Which takes us to The Conjuring 2, 3 years later in 2016.
Also inspired by true events.
Well, they all say that.
Yeah, still.
Did you like this one better?
No.
Now, I was getting a little bored with the Annabelle movies last week, but I liked everything this week.
Okay, you're allowed.
Directed by James Wan, written by Chad Hayes and Carrie Hayes, stars Vera Farmiga, Patrick Wilson, and Madison Wolfe. Runtime 2 hours and 14 minutes. Link in the usual place. He didn't like it. I did. Amityville, New York, 1976. The church asks Ed and Lorraine Warren to check out the Amityville house and verify the claims of the Lutzes.
And we didn't know ahead of time that this was the Amityville horror light. I mean, it was the Amityville house. Yeah. We didn't know it was,
Well, they mentioned at the end of the previous movie as sort of a teaser.
Yeah. But before then, we didn't realize that it was going to be Amityville. Yeah.
Well, she has an out-of-body experience and goes upstairs to reenact the murders perpetrated by Ronald DeFeo a few years ago.
Now, I do have to say that was kind of neat, because it was her reenacting it.
You could see her with like an invisible shotgun.
Yeah, and reflected in the mirror, you could see him with an actual shotgun, and that was a neat effect, I thought.
As far as vision flashbacks goes, it was
reliving the crime from his point of view. Yeah, I thought that was a neat effect, how they did that.
She also sees
didn't entirely hate it. Enjoyed moments.
She also sees a little boy with glowing eyes. The boy leads her to Valak, the evil nun.
And that name is important. Valak.
Credits roll, explaining that their investigation and successes at the Amityville house made them famous. But then there was another haunting. So that was all about the Amityville house.
Yeah,
it was just sort of a teaser.
Wasn't the main event. Yeah.
2 girls in 1977 London get caught smoking at school. Her mother's broke and has 4 kids to support. One of the girls has a homemade Ouija board, and when they use it, absolutely nothing happens. What?
Just reading my note. And then some annoying British girls have a go at the Ouija, and everything turns to shit from there. Well, I mean, that's the beginning point of their problems.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that triggered things, so to speak.
They never explicitly said that that's what triggered things.
Well, I guess maybe.
It was the first thing we saw.
But I think it was.
Yeah. Later that night, one of the girls starts having a...
Ouijas are the tool of the devil.
Yeah.
They invite the demons in.
Could we get one?
Might as well.
If you don't see us next week, we got the Ouija.
I've had a Ouija before.
One of the girls starts having a two-way conversation with a ghost while her sister watches, and the little boy sees someone in his tent. The next day, one of the girls does battle with a ghost over who gets to use the TV remote. See, I used to have fights with my brother over that. She has to fight with the undead.
Mm-hmm. How annoying.
Meanwhile, Ed has a nightmare about the evil nun and paints it the next day. Lorraine recognizes it from her vision a few years ago. She wants to stop doing new cases.
Because they're both kind of psychic. She's more psychic than he is.
I don't think he's psychic. I think he's just he's Mulder and she's...
Well, but he had a dream.
Psychic.
I mean, he had a visionary dream.
Okay,
he's a little bit touched with the gift.
He's a little touched, all right.
As they say, yes.
That night, back in London, the TV ghost returns to scare the little girl again. This time, he bites the girl and leaves a mark on her. Something else happens, and soon they're all convinced that the house is haunted. Even the police leave in fear, but they do suggest getting a priest involved.
Because this is out of our league.
The cops can't help and they suggest a priest. You got a problem. Back in the USA, Lorraine and daughter Judy see Valak in their own home. She watches as the nun comes through the painting for a really good jump scare before she wakes up.
And that was a good creepy effect, too, where they're coming out of the painting.
There's
like
a shadow on the wall that goes over to the painting. It sort of
you
goes
see,
where the body would be.
And then you
in the
see
painting.
the hands coming out from behind the painting, and then the painting becomes her face.
Yeah, very cool
charges.
effect.
Yeah, that was a cool effect.
A TV crew is in the London house to interview the family when the ghost of 72-year-old Bill Wilkins possesses little Janet right there on camera. He says he likes to hear them scream. They continue to sleep at the neighbor's house, but the ghost follows them over there since it still possesses Janet. The neighbors are not pleased.
And then the neighbors say, "You can't stay here anymore."
Well, the priest finally brings the case to the Newmans. Lorraine warns Ed about her dreams and about the nun and the painting. They decide to go to London, but they're only going to look and observe, not get involved.
Right.
Sure. They meet the family and check out the house.
Boy, an international flight in the early 70s was probably really luxurious, I bet.
Leg room.
Big plane, leg room, first class meals.
Stewardesses with hats.
Oh, yeah.
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 Back when they actually explained the flotation devices instead of the pantomime. And,
Yeah.
No terrorist watch points.
It was
no shoe bombs.
It was a different time. Yeah.
Get to carry your onboard luggage on. Ed talks to Bill the dead ghost. Lorraine, however, doesn't sense anything, which is strange. That night, the ghost shows up again, but Ed sings an Elvis song and makes everyone happy. Every good haunting is better when Elvis is there.
And he does his own singing, because he is a singer.
He was fairly good.
Yeah.
For an Elvis impersonator.
Yeah.
Ed and Peggy battle the old man's ghost while something else torments the children upstairs. Then they're presented with solid evidence that Janet is faking the whole thing.
No.
Lorraine still doesn't sense anything, and they all decide, hey, this is fake, let's go home.
Yep.
Ed then, on the train, does a trick with the audio recordings, and they hear Bill the ghost saying, "Help me, they won't let me go." Then Lorraine has a vision of old Bill being held prisoner in the house. They miss something. They return to the house to find that Peggy and some of the kids are locked out, and Janet is inside alone.
And the girl tells her mother that she faked it because the thing told her that it would kill them all if she didn't get them to leave.
And she did.
Which is, and then it goes to kill them all anyway. So,
Kids are so easy to fool.
Yeah.
Lorraine has to fight Valak. Oh, I skipped one. They return to the house, and Ed goes in alone, even though Lorraine is sure he'll be killed. She's been having visions of his death.
Yeah, a specific way.
He gets impaled with a stick, and he dies.
And then, guess what is outside?
It's big
old stick.
Yeah, the tree gets struck by lightning, and it's nothing but a stick pointing straight up. You know where this is going. He gets sprayed in the face with steam and gets partially blinded. Lorraine then has to fight Valak, while Ed has to deal with the Crooked Man, another new character. Ed's hanging out a window, about to be impaled, and Lorraine uses Valak's name against him. Get back, Valak! And she's able to save Ed and Janet. The Crooked Man toy ends up in the Cursed Object Museum.
Crooked Man's coming up as a movie this year.
Oh, from this?
The Crooked Man.
Yeah, he's enough of a character.
Another spinoff.
Then they need the Ferryman to have one, too, from the Annabelle movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was good.
They could, yeah.
And the Bloody Bride needs one from the Annabelle movies.
Yeah. They could just keep going with these.
Yeah. Well, this feels maybe a little longer than it needed to be. This one did drag a little bit. And it also had a whole subplot as is it real or is it a hoax that was maybe needed to make the characters more believable, but it stretched things out a bit more. It also cemented the nun as a serious character that deserved its own movie, which it very quickly got.
Which we saw and reviewed already.
The Nun was the first Conjuring movie we saw, and we both kind of liked it, and I've read nothing but trash reviews on it since. I wonder, seeing it in context with all these other Conjurings, if we would have had a different opinion of it.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
We liked it, and maybe we shouldn't have. I don't know. So speaking of liking things that you probably shouldn't.
Nose, eyes.
Nose, eyes.
Nose, eyes. Okay, 3 noses.
Our short film of the week is 2020's
Nose,
Eyes. And it's a Korean film directed by Ji-woon Man. Runs 13 minutes and 8 seconds. YouTube link below. Did you like it?
No. I mean, there were bits of it
You're cranky. You're cranky.
I'm cranky this week. But I don't know. Something was lost in translation. And at the end, I said, that's it?
You did.
I literally did. Huh? That wasn't really scary or nothing. It was creepy body horror.
I like this one.
Okay.
Next week, you get to pick.
This didn't do much for me either.
A girl lays in bed, listens to someone.
A 4 out of 10.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Bits I enjoyed, but mostly,
A girl lays in bed, listens to someone chant, nose, lips. There's a scary man at the end of her bed.
And it's in Korean with subtitles. So,
well, yeah.
It wasn't actually nose, lips we were hearing, but the subtitles said that.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, she screams, but it's just a dream. The scary man was really her father, and his eyes looked all messed up. She tells her mother, who's on the phone to her brother-in-law. She lies to him about being outside and at work. She's clearly trying to get rid of him. The little girl wants to go in the other room to see her father, but the mother says no, leave him alone. Daddy's sick, and they've got some insurance money, and the mother says the brother-in-law is after the money. There's a knock on the door, and they both jump. It's the brother-in-law, and they get quiet and avoid him as he pounds.
And looks in the window and tries to get,
A little later, the daughter goes in to visit her father, and it's not quite what you'd expect after that.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought this one was just all kinds of messed up. It was awesome. Very tense.
Awesome?
Children in peril. Come on.
Awesome, though?
It was awesome. The director made a statement. The idea for nose, eyes came from an existing female criminal known as Lady Lady stabbed the eyes of her family and blinded them in order to get insurance money. Nose, eyes tries to picture the life of a young girl who has such a mother and asks the audience the following questions. What if your mother is a psychopath who harms your family to get insurance money? What if you're a 10-year-old girl living under the absolute influence of such a mother?
What indeed?
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought it was good. I thought it was good.
Okay.
Somewhat less good. The Curse of La Llorona, 2019.
Yep. Set in 1973 for some reason.
Because the past is freaking scary.
Okay.
Directed by Michael Chavez, written by Mickey Daughtry and Tobias Yakonis. Stars Linda Cardinelli, Raymond Cruz, and Patricia Velasquez. Runtime 1 hour, 33 minutes. Also the shortest of the movies this week.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We saw a short back in October called The Curse of La Llorona.
That one was good.
It was an Indian film about the La Llorona, which is a very Mexican myth. And I didn't understand what was going on in that. How did the Mexican ghost get to India?
It's an international
I don't think it is.
All cultures have their.
Well,
their
I'm sure
own.
they all have something similar, but not called that.
I don't know why,
Yeah.
but that one was good.
That was funny. It was more of a comedy.
Yeah, but that was stellar good.
Okay.
Yeah.
This one.
This one was not stellar good.
Any special hatred on this one? They didn't pretend it was a true story.
It's just part of the Conjuring. They're trying to say it's the true story. They're trying to make us believe it's,
Okay, so it's a thumb
well,
down
it's
for
part
you.
of the Conjuring universe, and that's all.
It's not a bad thing by itself.
Conjuring is all like documentary.
You liked Annabelle's, didn't you? Mostly?
Mostly.
Okay. You liked The Nun at the time.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I don't know.
All right.
I hated this one less than the Conjuring movies. I give this one a solid 5.
Because the Conjuring movies were based on supposedly real life psychics, and you don't believe in real life psychics, so you're thinking the whole thing is a fake sham to take advantage of people who want to watch that stuff?
No, I don't think that at all.
Meanwhile, in Mexico, 1673, 2 little boys give their mother a pendant, and she says she'll keep it forever. Somehow, one of the little boys gets separated from the others. He finds the mother drowning the other son, and then she does the same for him. Credits roll. We jump forward to 1973. 300 years to the day. What a coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
Anna.
A fast and frenetic introduction to Anna and her kids.
Anna works for CPS, Child Protective Services. She gets a call that the Alvarez children aren't going to school. Fast and frenetic. I noticed that. Even before what I just said.
Mm-hmm.
There's this fast, frenetic shot of Anna and her kids running all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Like, can't you just say, here's Anna and her kids? You've got to see, like, family panic in the morning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's the kids putting on
their
shoes.
It's just getting ready in the
getting their
morning
lunch,
to start their
going
day.
to the door. But it's shot in such a way, it looks like they had only 2 seconds to do everything, and it's all panic, freak out.
They got up
rush.
5 minutes before they had to get ready and go.
Which sometimes it is like that, but this was just edited that way.
Yeah, edited this way, and I kind of get the impression this is how they live their lives every morning. It's like this.
You don't have any kids, do you?
No, but
from what I've seen with people with kids, that's the way it is.
If it's not that bad all the time.
It is. I'd rather have a cat. Well, Anna works for CPS, Child Protective Services, and she gets a call that the Alvarez children aren't going to school. She also gets talked to by her boss for being late so often since her husband died. Exposition time. Her husband's dead. He was
her
a
husband
cop.
was a cop.
And she is sad. She goes over to the Alvarez house with a policeman in tow. We can see that Mrs. Alvarez is weird because she has candles all over the house. Did you ever see anybody in a movie with candles all over the house that wasn't weird, insane, or haunted in some way?
That's what they do in movies.
If you got candles, you're a freak. Alvarez...
there's a thing that, a few candles versus, a house full of candles. I mean, she really was overloaded with candles. Every room, every shelf, all over the place.
And what is it in monster movies when you go down into the dungeon or the caves beneath the castle? All the torches, all the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of candles are lit. How many hours would it take to light all those candles? And who does it when Dr. Frankenstein is a busy man?
He has a staff person for that. We never see him, but
they should put him in the credits, candle lighter. Mm-hmm. But anyway, this movie does not have a candle lighter or a dungeon, but it does have a crazy woman with lots of candles.
Mm-hmm.
Alvarez wanders off, leaving Anna to walk around the house looking for the boys. Anna finds a locked door, but she opens it anyway. She finds the key. Inside, she finds the 2 boys who are hiding inside. "Close the door," they whisper. One of the boys has burn marks on his eyes, and they both say...
Arms.
What did I just say?
You said eyes. Yeah.
Ow.
Yeah.
No, burn marks on their arm.
Yeah.
And they both say, "She did it."
Yeah,
but they don't mean her mother.
And the way they keep saying it, they think, she's thinking, this mother's abusing these kids. And
yeah.
That's not what they mean.
"We're not safe anywhere," the other one whispers. Well, Anna misses her dead husband, a former police officer. We see his picture on a desk or something. Meanwhile, the 2 Alvarez boys are having a rough night at the CPS building.
Boy, are they ever.
Tomas appears to be sleepwalking, and his little brother is trying to follow him. Then they both see something scary. Anna then gets a call saying they just pulled the two dead boys out of the river and they are very dead. She drags her own two children, Chris and Sam, with her to the crime scene. Because if you get called to see a couple of dead children, you're going to take your kids along too.
She doesn't have a sitter. They're too young to leave alone.
It's
what
the
you
middle of the
gonna
night.
do?
They
What
were
you
asleep.
gonna do? You know what you gonna do? Got work to do? Bring the kids. Put them in the back seat. They'll be fine.
At the murder scene.
Put them in the back seat. Give them a Pop-Tart. They'll be fine.
Mrs. Alvarez comes onto the scene, screams, and said she tried to stop her. She tried to stop La Llorona. Chris gets out of the car and nose around, as children always do in these movies, and here's a woman weeping away from the crime scene. She sees him and homes in on him.
It's her.
She grabs his arm, burning him in the same way that the Alvarez boy was burned. He runs to the car and gets in. She tries to get him in the car, but he rolls the windows up. Didn't have car windows in 1673.
And that was a pretty good and creepy scene. And you know, and the car windows had these crank things that made the windows go up and down. It was really weird.
It was the 70s, a different age.
It was a different age, yeah.
Yeah, now you just push the button and the ghosts are locked out.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay, so Chris the son thinks he was imagining the whole thing, even though he has a real burn mark still on his arm. Father Perez, the priest from the Annabelle film, explains that the concept of smudging at the funeral for the Alvarez boys.
And that seemed a little contrived.
It had nothing to do with anything other than the fact that, look, here's that priest.
Link them together, and this is how we can do it. Okay, we'll have the Perez guy. Yeah.
How can we make this a Conjuring movie since, Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga are busy? That priest hasn't got anything to do this week.
Yeah. We'll bring him in.
Because the priest is in 2 scenes. He interacts with one actress, just Anna, nobody else, and that's the end of it. He doesn't interact. He doesn't save the day. He doesn't come to the house.
Thin connection to fit this in with the Conjuring.
Literally, the priest actor probably had a free afternoon, and they filmed these scenes with him.
And then they could say, look, it's a Conjuring film.
I think that's really exactly it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Anna asks him about La Llorona, and he explains that she's the weeping woman and tells the legend. She murdered her own children, and now she roams the earth in search of replacements. At home, Anna's daughter Sam now hears the weeping woman too. She can see her through her clear umbrella.
And what was the reason she was mad at her husband? Because he was a jerk. And
Who?
so that's
Anna?
why she killed the kids, the boys, to take to take her husband's prized possessions away.
The woman in 1673, her husband got another woman pregnant.
Oh, yeah.
And she wanted to make him jealous, so she killed his prized possessions, which were his children.
And hers.
Yeah, well, she regretted it right after.
She did.
So that's okay.
Yeah, she regretted it so much she became a wandering ghost for 300 years.
The woman leaves her marks on the daughter as well. Raphael, Mrs. Alvarez's priest, investigates her now empty home. See, so there's actually 2 priests involved. The little crossover guy that was in 2 scenes, and then this guy who they brought in to do the action and the heavy lifting in this film.
The actual action and the actual necessary stuff.
See, now if they'd had the other priest do all this other stuff, then I'd call it a true crossover. But it was just that one character with a tiny link, and it feels cheap.
And why couldn't they have used him for the whole thing?
Oh, they could have.
Yeah, they should have.
Raymond Cruz needed to eat.
Well, yeah, it was nice.
Well, he's gained a lot of weight since Breaking Bad, hadn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Priest Tuco. Anna starts hearing odd noises around the house. She catches Chris sleepwalking, and then she sees the woman. The next day, Anna goes in to see Mrs. Alvarez in jail. Alvarez blames Anna for her boy's death, since she had the boys safely hidden. She told La Llorona to go after Anna's children. She prayed for it. Chris is hurt in an attack.
Let's make a deal with the ghost.
You take their children, bring mine back.
Bring mine back.
Yeah.
I don't think it works that way.
Chris is then hurt in one of the attacks, and the hospital, ironically, ends up calling CPS on Anna. She still doesn't tell Detective Cooper what she's going through, even though she probably should. The woman attacks again that night. Anna and the kids go to see Father Perez in his second scene, and he tells them about Annabelle. He believes the La Llorona story. He can't help her directly, but he knows a guy who used to be a priest and now might be able to help.
Mm-hmm.
It's Raphael, who now recognizes her from the Alvarez funeral. He senses great evil in their house, but sets up candles and other magic defenses in their house. That night she returns again, but Raphael drives her away. The woman grabs Sam, and Anna has to search for her in the swimming pool. Anna grabs the woman pendant off her neck. Sam gets away, but she's now under the woman's control. Mrs. Alvarez shows up out of the blue with a gun, and she breaks the seal, keeping the woman out. The kids hide in the attic, and when the woman attacks up there, Chris shows her the pendant, which turns La Llorona human-looking. Anna then stabs her with a cross made of some kind of special wood, and the woman explodes in a gusher of black juice. The end.
And you didn't talk about the first time the stupid little girl, the Perez priest, he made these, the magic words, and wasn't it beans, crushed magic beans, that he put a line basically at the doorway.
There's some kind of wood that she didn't like.
That she couldn't cross. I thought it was beans.
Wood chips.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Put a line and, with the sacred words, and that sealed, she couldn't come in. Well, the little girl's doll fell outside, and so she's reaching and reaching and reaching, and it's all suspenseful because she's like, her knee is brushing the barrier, and she's reaching, and the mom screams at her like, what the blankety blank are you doing? and she says, oh, Mom, I got my doll, and I didn't break the barrier, as she breaks the barrier, dragging the doll back into the room across the barrier.
Kids are stupid.
Kids are stupid. She was so
Kids in horror movies are extra stupid.
This kid in this horror movie was especially stupid. Oh, it was the glorious age of aluminum TV dinners. I remember that too.
They all get
Speaking of different times,
TV.
TV dinners when they were in aluminum pans and you warm them up in the oven.
That was back when TV dinners were good. Not a healthy choice.
Well, I know. I think there's many tasty choices now, but you microwave them all. Very, very few come with oven trays anymore. That you can even that you don't even have the option of cooking them in the oven.
You put them in the oven. It takes an hour and a half to cook. Those things are frozen hard.
So worth the wait, though, and the tray keeps it warm and metal. And, it was a glorious age.
Now, one thing I missed: Mrs. Alvarez came in with her gun, and she locked Anna in the basement while the things were going on in the attic. Mm-hmm. She changed her mind and eventually let Anna out of the basement. Mm-hmm. And then what happened to her? Did anything happen? She just sort of went away.
Nothing happened to her.
She didn't die. She didn't sacrifice herself.
So.
She's just wandered around in the basement or something.
Yeah, just kind of hanging out, I think.
Okay.
I don't remember anything happening.
I don't either.
Yeah.
Well, I think maybe the theme of all these Conjuring movies is that living in the 70s was just plain terrifying. Far more so than life today. This was rated R, but there's hardly any gore, no bad language or sex, and no one even died on screen. Some kids died off screen. That was about it.
Seemed tame for a rated R.
Yeah, I wonder if something was cut at some point, because it's very tame.
We thought so. Yeah.
The acting was fine, the effects were good, and the jump scares were predictable but not as numerous as the other Conjuring films. It was a pretty standard haunting type film, but really nothing specially remarkable. The only link to the other Conjuring films was a story told by the priest, which felt a lot like it was shoehorned in after the rest of filming to make it fit in with the already established series. Felt like a cheap link to the series.
Mm-hmm. A thin link.
Yeah. Which brings us to our last movie,
Tales of Frankenstein.
A 2018 indie anthology film.
This one made the week worth it.
This one you like?
I liked this.
Okay.
I liked this one a lot.
I like this one too.
This one was cool.
Actually,
many cool things.
This is probably the best indie movie we've seen in a while. We've seen some pretty crappy indie movies.
Middle of the road, and I mean, this was definitely
Yeah, this was on the high end of indie movies. Definitely.
Yeah.
Kind of low on the the high end studio type scale.
Well, you could. It was. Yeah.
But really good.
More. What do you say? Professional. More
talent. More talent.
More better.
This is the more betterest movie.
More better than a typical independent movie.
Okay, Tales of Frankenstein from 2018, directed and written by Donald F. Glut, I know I've read some of his stuff somewhere before.
Okay.
Stars John Blythe Barrymore, Buddy Daniels Freeman, and Jim Tavare. Hour and 52 minutes.
It's an anthology.
It is. And some of those indie anthologies we've seen are touch and go.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we are told in the introduction that these are the tales of some of the later followers of Frankenstein, his descendants and students and so forth.
His legend lived on. His
did.
work lived on.
And there's this painting of Frankenstein that shows up in all the different...
I want that painting. I want one of those. A copy of that.
Every time they showed, he's got these books down at the bottom.
Yeah.
And the spine of the books have very clearly painted letters on them. They said something. I couldn't quite make it out.
Yeah. Good.
I'd like to know what his books were.
Anyway, it's a cool painting that is passed on through time.
It shows up in all the segments.
Yes. Well, the stories go through time.
Yeah.
The oldest one first, moving more closer to modern time with each one.
Segment 1, My Creation, My Beloved, Bavaria, 1887. Dr. Gregor Frankenstein has Victor's notes, and he wants to make his own creature. His pen pal, a lady scientist, has died and sent him some part of her body to use. Actually, she never says what part she sent him. He heads over to...
she does. Yeah, her one organ that was...
The one organ that was good. What was that?
Her brain.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh,
Didn't specifically say it.
Oh, that's what she meant.
Yeah.
Well,
I
it was
figured
pretty
that.
clear. Yeah. Because her body was racked with disease and age and bad things and... Yeah. But her beautiful brain, she would...
And of course, this Frankenstein, he's an old man, he's bald, he's hunchback, he's kind of scarred up. He's an ugly old dude. He heads over to the morgue, and he's got this, what we assume is a beautiful girlfriend through pen pals.
Mm-hmm.
He heads over to the morgue where he needs just one more part, a brain. On the way home, he stabs a guy for attempting to rape a prostitute who is hanging out in the cemetery, because everyone knows that all the good hangers hang out in the cemetery. The brain in his bag is destroyed, but hey, that hooker has a perfectly good brain. He takes her whole head home with him. And that's why I said that, because he used the hooker's brain. He didn't use the scientist friend's brain. That was kind of clearly spelled out in the story that he used the hooker's brain.
Which doesn't make any sense, because it was her.
Yeah. There's a fire at the... Maybe that's why she just generically said organ. Like there's some other part that makes it her.
Okay.
The one with the soul in it, not the brain.
I'll buy that.
There's a fire at the dance hall, and a bunch of dancers are killed. Gregor has his choice of parts now. He throws the switch, lightning strikes, and the girl he assembled on the table lives. He doesn't say it.
The perfect
I don't think anybody ever says that.
I wished he would.
It's alive.
He didn't.
Nobody says it.
Yeah.
It's probably a patent or something. She then kills Gregor, which was not the result he was looking for. But
that's
not the end of it. No. Okay, and I thought this one looked really good and was very well shot. The gore and effects were very good, and the only thing that reminded me that this was an indie film was the stock footage of the dance hall fire. This may be the first Frankenstein story to have a happy ending. Then we got a note from the publicist, I think, that pointed out that the brains in this was real.
Real brains.
Or in one of the segments. I think it was this one.
Probably not real human brains, but yeah.
No. But
sheep brains or some kind of
brains. It wasn't a plastic model.
Yeah, real brains. That's why they look so realistic.
Yeah. Segment 2, Crawler from the Grave. Switzerland, 1910. Vincent wakes up with a bad dream. He goes downstairs and admires his box of jewels. He goes downstairs and he just plays in his box of jewels. Like a cartoon,
miser.
Yeah, cartoon miser. The mysterious gray plague has come to town. Mrs. Frankenstein says that the plague is carried on the wind. Her husband has just died, and Vincent calls to arrange to buy his ring. She explains that they buried the ring with him, and Vincent is not happy.
He wants the ring.
Vincent goes to see Johann, who collects shrunken heads for some reason. Vincent explains
everybody needs a hobby.
I want a shrunken head. Vincent explains that Helmut Frankenstein was a rich old man who married a much younger gold digger. Helmut thought he could use Victor's notes to become young and immortal. He drank down the formula, turned gray, and died of the plague just a few seconds before the solution would have worked.
Yeah, it didn't work so
well. He's like chugging it down, and he turns green and gray and falls dead. Minutes too soon. That's a fast-acting plague.
Or is it too soon?
Johann refuses to help Vincent dig up the body. Vincent goes out and does it himself. As he digs, he thinks he hears a heart beating. almost like a telltale heart.
I heard his heartbeat. It was maddening.
Helmut then crawls up out of the grave. He's not quite dead after all. Vincent cuts off Helmut's hand and takes the ring anyway. Frankenstein's hand then kills Johann. Vincent puts the ring on but can't get it off again. Then Helmut's hand shows up for a rematch.
And there's a mention the best Amontillado that money can buy. There's a lot of Poe references. Throughout these. Yeah. They sneak a lot of stuff in, which was a lot of fun. And I'm sure we missed some too, but yeah.
Well, this one I wonder about. Len Wein was Dr. Helmut Frankenstein.
His last acting role.
He died during the production of this.
Oh, during
and
the
production. I wonder if there was a different story planned and all. And they filmed his death scene, and then the hand was all they could do. I don't know. That's just me speculating.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
Bad timing. You got to do what you got to do to save the film.
Talented guy. Good comics. Good actor.
Bad manicure. They threw in all the Poe references they could think of on this one, and the story was fairly predictable, but it was well done and very entertaining, I thought. Which takes us to The Madhouse of Death, Segment 3.
And we're up to 1948, Los Angeles.
A noir detective named Jack breaks down on the road and has to hoof it to the nearest shelter as a storm approaches. He goes to a house, and a scary tribal African-looking guy named Mogambo answers the door. Could you get any more African than Mogambo?
He certainly was.
You just can't even say that without sounding African.
Mogambo.
I am Mogambo. Who introduces him then to Dr. Mortality. If I was ever going to be a doctor.
Mel Novak was so good in this part.
He didn't even need makeup.
It's not a huge part, but my gosh, he was brilliant and perfect for that.
Didn't even need makeup.
Well...
Dr. Mortality is thrilled when Mogambo explains that the one has arrived. 3 Chinese women appear out of nowhere and offer Jack tea and fortune cookies. That's what Chinese women do, right?
and that's Anna May, Anna Lou, and Anna Lee. The 3 Annas.
Okay. Jack gets sleepy because Mortality has drugged the tea.
And they're all Mortalities. Concubines?
We'll go with that,
yeah. I guess you could call it that.
Brides of Mortality.
Yeah, the Brides of Mortality, yeah.
Mortality then introduces Gargantus, a huge gorilla. Mortality is planning to remove Jack's brain and transplant it into Gargantus.
Because science.
It's a fairly standard horror movie plot.
Yeah.
Okay, this is more of a comedy, play for laughs kind of story.
It is.
It's got Mel Novak, so it's creepy from the get-go. And the guy who played Jack was kind of a horrible actor by every means necessary, but it was still entertaining.
Oh, I thought he was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
These
did.
Noir detective type guys, it's hard to do them without coming off as hack. Part of bad parody. I don't know. Maybe he was a good actor and it was not the best character. Those things I just have a hard time taking seriously. I am. Based on a true story.
Okay.
Segment 4, Dr. Karnstein's Creation. Transylvania, 1957. Dr. Karnstein has already built his monster. We then jump back 7 months and he's just considering buying the old castle on the hill. It was supposed to be the home of a nest of vampires once. He explains to Carl that he intends to create Victor's experiments and use the vampire legend as a cover to avoid the locals.
Now, Carl was a sidekick. It wasn't Igor originally. The first sidekick was
in
Carl.
the real movies it was Carl,
Yeah, it was Carl was the first
and
sidekick.
So is this guy.
The Frankenstein, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think that was an accident.
Probably not. There's always a Carl in these movies.
Yeah.
Common German name. But first, they need to rob some graves. They open a grave, and the doctor comments on how well preserved the body is. It's preserved in soil inside the coffin, surrounded by garlic. Then he borrows a brain from Carl. Borrows.
Yeah, and did you know? Did you get that reference? What he was talking about? Because Carl, it's 1957, talking to the doctor says you're dressing up like that mumbling actor, that mumbling American actor.
Brando?
Yeah.
I did not catch that.
He's talking about On the Waterfront in 1954.
Okay.
Brando and On the Waterfront, and Carl is emulating him, and without saying that, Carl, the doctor, you're dressing up like that mumbling actor, that mumbling American actor.
I haven't seen On the Waterfront.
I thought that was pretty funny.
Okay.
Funny reference.
All right, so they open up a great, and tonight is the full moon, and the full moon is said to be able to revive the dead. Well, they do it, and something happens. Surprise! It's not what they were expecting. Okay, well, I thought this one was a bit of a mashup of monster genres, as you might expect from the plot.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Karnstein gets a lot more than he bargained for. I would have liked to have seen this one as a full-length film with better budget and better acting.
Mm-hmm.
It was a great,
I think it could have been.
A really good concept.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
At times, I thought Karnstein was doing a Boris Karloff impersonation with his voice. Did you think he sounded that way?
Well, I didn't catch that.
I did. It came and went. It wasn't consistent, but I think it was there.
Okay.
Overall, I think all 4 segments had very distinctive and interesting actors to play the various Frankenstein relations, and they were all very entertaining. Some of the acting and some of the segments was weak, but the stories were all very fun to watch, and I absolutely recommend this one.
Me too, yeah. Now, is it available now for everybody to see?
Yeah.
It's brand new, so.
I want to say Amazon, but I'm not absolutely sure.
There will be a link in the show
We
notes.
will have a link in the show notes, yes.
Yeah.
All right, so I liked all 5 of these things, and you liked one.
You know what? I'm gonna kind of a little bit of a spoiler. I don't know how much of a spoiler, but one of the best effects that I liked in Tales of Frankenstein. Now imagine vampires can't see their own reflection. But imagine if a vampire had a different brain, like a non-vampire brain, and what that vampire would see when it looks in the mirror would just be the brain.
Yeah, somebody thought through that on that one.
That was awesome.
And that is our show for this week.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. Stop in during the week at horrorguys.com and read all the blog posts and comment on the podcast, or watch our videos, watch our audio, listen to our audios, or just read the stuff.
Do it all.
And get ready for next week, because we're going to be watching some more actual classics. Back to the oldies. We're going to watch Weird Woman from 1944. Nothing scarier than a weird woman.
Weird Woman. I don't know that one at all.
Hammer's Nightmare from 1964. It's a very good title and very generic sounding.
I might have seen that. Probably not when it came out, but that seems familiar.
Yeah, I read the description when I put it on here, but I don't remember what it's about now. It's been 2 weeks.
It's a surprise. It's about a nightmare.
It, Chapter 2 from 2019, and Ready or Not, also from 2019.
Uh-huh.
Think you'll think these will be better than last week?
Yeah, I'm
probably.
anticipating they will be.
Okay. Email us, horrorguysmail@gmail.com. Horror Guys Podcast is our Facebook group, or just follow us at Horror Bulletin on Twitter. I'm Brian.
I'm Kevin.
And we'll see you next week.
See ya.